Hi and welcome to the channel. Today we will unbox and tear down this Maxsun RX 580. I bought this at a discounted rate of 4,200 pesos or around $75. Regular price was 5,200 pesos, which is still cheap. Nowadays, however, it is pretty much out of stock and you'd see their white version instead, which costs a bit more. Anyway, around the box you'd see that this is the so-called Optimus Prime series. Though the box art doesn't really look like Optimus Prime. And the Chinese characters actually represent Big Mac, which is also not represented in the box art. The text here is likely to be a 3-year warranty, though I can only read the year Chinese character. At the back, most of the texts are Chinese, and you'll see True Audio instead of True, which they type correctly at the bottom. It also says here 3-year warranty in English. Again, even though it has a 3-year warranty, you have to send it to China to avail the so-called warranty. Anyway, opening the box. Upon opening, you'd see some information in Chinese. There's no top foam padding, however, it arrived here safely from China, so I think this is fine. There's an ample amount of padding on the sides though. Anyway, here's the GPU itself. The GPU obviously has 2 fans. There's no fan stop mode, and as for the dimensions, it is 242mm by 111mm. It is a 2-slot card with 3 display ports, 1 DVI, and 1 HDMI. There is a backplate, however, there are no thermal pads, and therefore the backplate is just for aesthetics and rigidity purposes only. As for the power, it requires a single 8-pin PCIe power connector as the total board power is 185 watts. The cooling looks beefy enough, however I noticed one of the fins to be loose, although I don't think it has a significant impact. Anyway, as for the thermal benchmarks while benchmarking FF15 for 30 minutes, there is no GPU temp but there is a GPU thermal diode reading which averaged at 72.11 degrees Celsius with a max temp of 76 degrees Celsius. The GPU memory temperature was exactly the same when plotted. And not just that, but 4 more other sensors plotted at the same temperature. This is reminiscent of my Aisurix RX 580 review. With that, the temps can't be trusted. There's another temp sensor available which is the VRM temp which averaged at 80.49 degrees Celsius with a max temp of 85 degrees Celsius. And as for the benchmarks, I benchmarked the games in 1080p to 4K but I will only show the 1080p performance. Like my other benchmarks, I benchmark in the highest preset available. This means that the benchmark numbers will look bad. RX 580 is not meant to run AAA games in the highest settings, even as old as Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Final Fantasy 15. So with that, it is given that the average FPS is below 60, and if you remove Rainbow Six Siege, which is an outlier, you'd get 41 FPS. As a general look on average gains and losses, at 1080p this is 2% worse than the 6500 XT and 1.5% better than the GTX 1650. Side by side with the GTX 1650 and 6500 XT, you'd see sometimes that the FPS difference is negligible, but sometimes it is perceivable. Though looking at these results, again, RX 580 is not meant to run AAA games in the highest settings. Moving on, as for the teardown, for this you just have to remove the 4 spring screws at the back. I tried to remove the warranty sticker but it was very sticky. Anyway, just unscrew the spring screws. The heatsink is now stuck to the PCB by its thermal paste and thermal pads only. To release, just give it a few twists until it separates. You can also remove the fan by wiggling the fan header until it is pulled out. You can see the 8 VRAM chips here, which is made by Samsung. It is also clearly written, unlike my previous teardown from Chinese GPU makers. You can see the corresponding thermal pads at the heatsink side as well. I also saw a speck of dust of paper, but it was difficult to remove even after shaking, though I managed to scoop it out after shooting. To clean the GPU thermal paste, use 99% alcohol and cotton buds. For myself, I used cotton to get as much thermal paste as I can in one stroke. For the sides and hard to reach places, that's when I used cotton buds. The core looks silver, though in my camera it is very dark. I also noticed a few pencil marks like 2048, 16X, and other Chinese writings. Moving on, to remove the backplate, there are 6 screws that you need to remove. No comment on the backside of the PCB though. The backplate alone felt plastic, and likely it is, and confirming that there are no thermal pads. One thing that I noticed though is that this is probably the cleanest PCB that I've seen among the Chinese GPU teardowns. As for the fan shroud, it is secured by 4 screws, 2 on each side. After removing the screws, the shroud didn't come off easily as it is still clipped. You have to put your fingers behind the fan to remove the clips. As for the fan, it says SK Smart Fan 20-04-151 ball bearing. To remove the fan, you have to remove the hot glue, which is not ideal for maintenance purposes. And I guess that's it for the teardown. Overall, and for the third time, this is not for AAA games at the highest settings. You might be able to play at low or medium settings instead, especially for modern titles. As for recommendations, well, there are 2 perspectives here. There's me who just play JRPGs, and those are pretty light graphics in nature, easy to render, and smooth overall. There are exceptions such as FF15 onwards, that's FF7 Remake, and likely FF16 as well. But for the likes of Tales of Arise, which you are seeing on the screen, this is the best bang for the buck GPU. For 5,000 pesos or roughly 1 less coffee a week, you can get this GPU. And I would personally not care about the warranty as, again, this is cheap. Likely it will be alive for a year and 5,000 pesos isn't that much on a yearly basis. The footage that you are seeing now is in 4K and it runs 40 to 60 FPS depending on the details that you are seeing. For JRPGs, that is playable. At 1080p, it can keep constantly at 60 FPS. Given those, had this knowledge been known to me 2 years ago and had this been available at this price, I would have bought this without thinking. The other perspective here is me who's giving advice in this channel. I wouldn't strongly recommend this as I don't want to jeopardize the viewers. For one, it virtually has no warranty as you need to send it to mainland China. Next is that there are no more future driver support from AMD. Next is that it is power inefficient as compared to 6500 XT and GTX 1650. And the temps can't be trusted. These are facts and risk of buying this card and should be accepted before buying. As for Maxsun RX 580, well, I like that the cooler seems to perform. And at Teardown, the PCB is really clean and the components look brand new. I can't say for the GPU core however, as I can't really trace if it's new or not. Like Sapphire, they applied underfills in the memory near the PCIe slot, which is actually good. Looks reliable to be honest. As against Aisurix, well, at this point I trust Maxsun more. Maxsun is a known manufacturer since way back and Aisurix is just a new player. Maxsun is recognized internationally while Aisurix isn't there yet. However, Aisurix distributes locally in the Philippines, so I guess you can claim warranty on them. Having a local presence isn't a solution though. It is easy to close shop online. Anyway, pick your poison. So anyway, that's it for this video. Do let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching. Do like or dislike and subscribe for more unboxing, SFF build, and benchmarks. Bye!